And we are back, and we just finished 2024's Kraven the Hunter, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 7 minutes. This is directed by J.C. Chandor, with writing credits to Richard Wenk, art Marcum, Matt Holloway. The IMDb description is Kraven's complex relationships with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravinoff, starts him down a path of vengeance with brutal consequences, motivating him to become not only the greatest hunter in the world, but also one of its most feared.
Ooh.
This we caught on Netflix, but it is also to buy rent on Prime. But if you have a Netflix account, I say catch it there and don't pay for this.
No.
Oof.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Sony is on its continued destruction streak of just terrible superhero movies. Madam Web.
Sadly, all related to Spider-Man.
All
who is
related to
like
Spider-Man.
my favorite superhero. Ugh.
Madam Web, Venom, and then this nonsense.
Let's not forget Morbius.
But that was before. I'm talking about just 2024, the year.
Oh, just 2024.
Could you imagine the losses they needed to take? They took a bath on all these movies, I think.
Probably. I mean, I would say especially this one, because this one, the special effects weren't that bad.
No. They were definitely better than Madam Web.
Madam Web was
Let's never speak of
straight
it.
garbage.
Yeah. That was like a student film.
Yeah. Lord.
And I bet you somebody who had made student films would have done something better than that.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
or just as
there
good.
are probably a million Spider-Man fans out there who could have somehow turned these sub-characters
into
that
something
don't really deserve to have their own movies, and they probably could have done something
better.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Sony should do. Just recruit like talent. Like, hey, do you love the Spider-Verse? Come pitch us your stories. I mean, seriously. These people couldn't do any worse than what's been put out there already.
Yeah, I don't
give somebody a contract, give them a budget, and let them tell the story. So if you haven't picked up on it, this is not a good film. This is
yeah,
it's not as bad as Madam Web.
No. I would probably say of the Sonyverse, let's just call it. It's one of the better ones because let's be honest, you're dealing with the Venom movies, which
are shit.
I've only seen the first two, and they both sucked.
Shit.
They're
They're
garbage.
Shit, but they make money.
The Morbius, which was garbage.
Terrible.
Madam Web, which was garbage.
Trash.
And now you have this.
Not good.
Which is just not good.
Yeah.
But this one had a good opening sequence.
It did. And I turned to you after the opening sequence and was like, I'm entertained.
Yeah.
I'm entertained. I expected more of that. And I did not get more of that. And I'm angry that I've wasted 2 hours and 7 minutes now.
Yeah. I mean, the way they told the story was just terrible. Because after this amazing opening sequence where he breaks into a Russian prison and murders some crime boss.
Yeah.
It's just like 16 years earlier.
Right.
And now we get the big, clunky, boring exposition.
Oh, God.
So much exposition. Yeah. Told slowly with just terrible pacing and
the worst. It was like written by a grade school person. It just wasn't good dialogue. Like
the dialogue
there was one
atrocious.
part where you said to me the dialogue is bad, and then we saw the scene where Calypso and Kraven are talking, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
What just happened? Like you said it, and then it was like, here's an example of what you just said.
Yeah, this is what a complete absence of chemistry looks like.
And poorly written dialogue.
Poorly written dialogue. It really felt like two people who just didn't want to be sitting next to each other. Yeah,
she seemed like she was phoning it in.
Oh my God, yeah.
And she's an Academy Award winner.
The streak continues, right? I mean, she's like right up there with Cuba Gooding Jr. and
the rest of them.
Win an Academy Award.
All right, so
crap ever since.
In all seriousness, what could have made this better? In your thoughts?
Better writing. I mean, just putting together something, but you're depending upon a fan base to make this film successful. Mm-hmm. the Spider-Man fan base, the comic book movie fan base. So these people, you have like that core that know about this character, that know who Kraven the Hunter is. He's not even really like a prominent Spider villain bad guy.
Yeah. And he's a villain. He's not a hero.
He's a villain. He's not Green Goblin level. He's not Doc Ock level. He's not Venom level, even Lizard level. He is some random guy who appeared and he had like one major story arc that was like heralded as a great story.
But this wasn't it.
This wasn't it because you can't do that story. Kraven's Last Hunt was the story. And that's the only reason why Kraven is still kind of a relevant character to this day, because of Kraven's Last Hunt. And at the end of that story, he blows his own head off with a shotgun. You're not going to do that for this movie. So they had to like, oh, we're going to make it all different. And now he's this amazing hunter who hunts down bad guys.
Right.
And just the way they told it, like I said, you got this great opening sequence. Great. You got the hook. We've mentioned the hook before, where in a film like this, you don't want to bore the audience, so you throw them right into the middle of some great action. And they did a great job with that.
Yeah, that sequence was really well done.
And then, all right, now, as soon as I saw the title 16 years earlier, I was like, that's just lazy. You could have told his past interspersed with like an exciting story that continues from what's going on, from what you have seen. It probably would have made more sense. You could have made parts of his past relate to parts in his present. Those are like effective storytelling techniques that tell you about this character and propel the current storyline. This, they didn't do that. It was just like, all right, now we're gonna just unload. I mean, how long was it before we got back to present day? It was at least a half hour,
or more. Yeah, I was gonna say. At least a half hour more.
We have like a half hour where it's just just boring. It's just so dull. He's like, oh,
I guess they wanted to explain how he got his powers, but I'm like, who cares? Just more of the beginning.
Like I said, you could have done that with just flashbacks or anything, or even just left it ambiguous.
Yes, why not?
It doesn't. That doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that you have a current storyline, and if you want to like find out about this guy, you have what's happening currently relate to his past. And there were things in the current storyline that, did sort of relate to his past, but it was the way they put it together was so ham-fisted and rudimentary. It was like, oh, they just happen to be in Africa, and oh, look, there's this girl, she happens to be in Africa, and oh, her mother is like a voodoo witch doctor or something like that, and today's the day I'm going to give you the magic potion that helps people.
Today's the day.
And
she didn't say it with a Bostonian accent.
No, that would have been would have
been the cherry on top.
It would have been amazing if you just go all the way and just have Bill Burr play the grandmother. But everything was just sort of like really ham-fisted and just crudely put into place. It was like watching a kid do one of those puzzles where you got to put the square peg in the round hole and he's just hammering it into the wrong hole over and over again. That's what this felt like. And then half hour passes and finally we're back to present day. And it's just like, oh, guess what? Today's the day I'm going to confront the lawyer, who was the little girl who gave me the superpowered formula. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because you just happened to be in London for your brother's birthday? It's just so stupid. And it's sort of like, that was another thing. It's, oh, I ran away from home and I've been away from home and I've ignored my dad.
But I see my brother every year.
It was another thing. Why didn't you take your damn brother with you?
Right.
Why didn't you take, you just left. I can't do it with you.
Right.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. You can't what? You couldn't provide for him? You're like super powered now.
And not only that, but you live in the fucking jungle. Yeah. You're the hunter. Go get some food, bitch.
Everything was just stupid decisions. And then the dialogue that these characters were spouting.
Yeah. It just it didn't feel like it was even in the realm of reality. Like,
it felt like they were reading from textbooks.
Yeah. At one point I turned to you and I was like, who talks like that? Who talks like this?
Nobody. I loved Kraven's speech when he's telling Calypso, oh, look at me. I'm super strong. I got great abs. I'm
I mean, he didn't say that, but that was the gist of it. Yeah, I am the greatest hunter.
Yeah, I'm the greatest hunter on the planet, and nobody can beat me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just invited the universe to take a stab at it.
But not only that, but I'm supposed to be like, yeah, that's a really great character.
Yeah, no.
Nobody likes that guy.
Nobody.
If you're at a party and some guy is just like, he just like opens up his shirt and he's like twisting his body so you see his abs, and he's just like, I'm the greatest guy at this party. Nobody could beat me.
You'd be like,
get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
We don't want you at our party anymore.
No.
It was just ridiculous, and nothing. You think, okay, a lot of action movies have stupid stories, but they make up for it. They'll give you humor, or they'll give you ridiculous nonsense, or seriously over the top violence. And it looked like they tried a bit with the over the top violence. But even in the movie, it felt like they edited it down because I remember seeing the Red Band trailer for this.
And it seemed more...
And it was more graphic in the trailer than you actually saw in the movie. I mean, it was still bloody in the movie. I mean, he bites some dude's nose off.
Yeah.
But even with that, the action sequences were not that good. No. They were all right.
Yeah.
And you really need to sort of take it to the next level, especially if you have a weak story. You have to give us something in exchange for us sitting through that. That's another thing. I mean, really, we shouldn't have had to sit through a half hour of exposition and then like some sort of lame bit of action and then another, oh, we're going to sit on a bench and talk with each other and here's some more exposition. Oh, here's a list. Oh, watch out. The people on the list may come after you now.
Right. And I felt like there was nothing really scary about Rhino.
Not really, no.
No.
And that's another thing. If you're a fan of the comics, Rhino is a big, stupid goon. He's not a criminal mastermind. He's never been a criminal mastermind. But that's me nitpicking. I mean, it's a movie universe, so you could take some liberties. But even still, if you're going to turn him into something else,
but even that
make him interesting.
Why this character wasn't interesting?
What, like, yeah. Oh, I have asthma, so I went to a doctor, and he gave me a formula that turns my skin into like rhino skin. Where's the connection there?
Yeah.
What about you taking some sort of formula
would make you into a rhino?
Yeah, like you were.
Well, he said he wanted to be strong, right? He had met.
Everybody wants to be strong, but
Sergei's
like
dad, and he knew that he wouldn't be taken seriously unless he
like
was strong, whatever that meant.
But like with the brother, he was like, "Oh, my ability is I can mimic people. I'm a chameleon." So, all right, you take the formula. Hey, guess what? His mimicking ability is now taken to the nth level, and now he's actually can shapeshift.
But you know what's funny?
That's an interesting result of a crazy scientific formula.
You know what's so funny? So that sequence is towards the end. I found that more interesting than the other parts of this film. But it was also funny. I noticed that when he turns into his brother, he's not the same height. He's still
kept
shorter,
his height, yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because it's like, well, okay, so if I knew who Kraven was, I'd be like, wow, you're almost as tall as me. So how did that happen? Because you're pretty. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because it's like he's a replica, but not exact.
Yeah, he's still limited by his physical mass. Which, you know,
that kind of makes sense.
It actually does make sense.
Yeah.
He has to be somebody who's roughly his height and weight.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that they did that, but it was and that sequence between the two of them talking was kind of interesting, and that felt more interesting than the bulk of the film. Like the beginning, it was almost like bookends. Like the bookends of this film were way more interesting than what was actually the meat and potatoes of the story. The meat and potatoes of the story was very poorly written, incredibly boring. Oh my gosh, like excruciating.
Yeah, there's really they really should have kept that stuff in small pieces that were told throughout the movie, but
maybe in flashback
and flashback, and in a way where it sort of relates, like I said, it relates to what's going on in the moment. Because other films have done that, and they've done it very well, where you're learning about the hero, and you learn about their past because something triggers a memory, or something that you're seeing is relevant to something that happens before. And this was just, it was like building blocks. It was, somebody was just given huge building blocks and they didn't know how to cut them down in a way that they could have told something a bit more interesting. So you're just left with this huge blocky mess where it's just intro, 16 years ago today. Mm-hmm. And it's just boring. And then they're just throwing in random bad guys like that foreigner guy.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I was my mentor was the greatest hunter until he was hunted by you or some. Ah, God, shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up. And then they somehow got to shoehorn the Spider-Man reference in it by having Kraven's greatest fear be spiders. Like, where the hell did that come from?
I don't know.
That would have been interesting if there was something in his past that made him afraid of spiders. But
right.
No, you know why Kraven's afraid of spiders? Because Spider-Man beats the shit out of him every time he sees him.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with him being afraid of bugs. He's literally afraid because Spider-Man beats the shit out of him.
So, not to change the subject, but so I think it's public knowledge now there's going to be another Spider-Man with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to do like a crossover with some of these characters?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I gotta be honest.
I don't imagine that. Like, I'm assuming that if this movie had done well, which it didn't, they would have had sequels. But why even introduce this character unless you're going to use him somewhere? I don't know. But then again, the Spider-Man movies are Marvel. Like, Marvel proper, not in association with Marvel.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to do sort of like a cross-promotional thing there.
I mean, there's a hint of it there because at the end of No Way Home, you see Venom. You see Tom Hardy's Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And then in some of those like in Morbius, you saw Michael Keaton's Vulture was in it.
Right.
So there is some sort of crossover, and they have the whole multiverse thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just worry.
And then in the last one, too, you had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah, you had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Right.
So they're...
And the villains from their universes kind of commingled.
So they are mixing it all together. So that's an option. My worry is... Let's be honest, Sony doesn't know what they're doing unless it's Spider-Verse like Miles Morales.
Right.
That they've done really well with, and I wonder if it's because that's their animation division, and whatever executives and muckety mucks are in charge of the live action stuff, just they're not sticking their finger in that.
Yeah.
Because that's the Spider-Verse stuff is brilliant.
Brilliant.
Leave that alone. Don't mingle it with anything else. Leave that alone. Finish that story.
Yeah.
As far as this stuff, as far as this Sonyverse stuff with Morbius and Kraven, just forget it ever happened. It was a bad dream. These are the universes that get snipped.
Yeah.
Don't taint the Tom Holland stuff with this stuff.
You know what's funny? And I hate big businesses as much as the next person. However, if Sony really wants to get into this game, what they should do, if they really want to get into the motion picture game, what they should do is buy a smaller production unit like Neon or an A24. It's funny because I could swear a couple of years ago, like before all this stuff with A24 started like coming down the pipe, they were going to sell the company. I could swear that I read that they were getting ready to sell that company, but then they had like this phenomenal success starting with like the Ari Aster pictures. And so they've subsequently done all these other things that have just been like amazing, like just amazing storytelling, and not just in the horror genre, right? You have After Sun, like all these movies that were like amazing. Mm-hmm. So if Sony really wants to get into this racket, what they should do is invest in one of these companies and say, we're going to buy you out. And we're going to be like a silent partner, like Disney is with Pixar. Like, we just want to own you so that we can get some of that sweet, sweet cash. But you know what? Here's some money. Do whatever you want with it. Because they obviously have money because they're investing it in all these projects. But they can't seem to make anything hit.
I don't know what the hell's going on with Sony Pictures. They should just fire everybody there. Just fire it. But like, yeah, maybe that's the answer. Whoever has the wallet, just say, okay, we're buying you now, and we're not going to tell you anything.
Yeah,
we're not going to stick our fingers in any of this stuff.
Yeah,
all the producer names you see on all these terrible movies,
gone.
All of them are fired. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to say anything to you people.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? But that's not really.
That's not reality.
That's irrelevant to this. We're talking about this terrible movie.
Yeah.
And their weird idea of creating their own shared superhero universe, which seemed like a great idea
at the time.
Like but I would probably say during the lockdown and since, no.
No, because they've proven that they can't make a good
film.
film.
They've always proven that they can't make decent movies.
Without Spider-Verse in the mix.
Without
right?
Spider-Verse, but I'm talking about live action stuff recently. Most companies, they just can't. Like Marvel was able to do it. But look at Marvel now.
Yeah, they've taken
a nosedive as far as their quality goes, their output. They were putting out way too much stuff.
Agreed.
Everything was getting diluted, and I mean, I enjoy seeing alternate versions of stuff, but people are probably getting confused. I mean, it was already enough for people to be like, I got to watch like what 10, 20 years worth of movies
to understand
if I want to really come into this.
Yeah. But I don't think you do
after Endgame, they probably should have just shut down for a while. Like a long while, like maybe like 5, possibly even 10 years, and then just say, okay, we're coming back to this. And everybody else that has tried to do it, like DC, Warner Brothers shits the bed hard.
Well, let's not be too hasty, because that Superman trailer looked good. The James Gunn Superman.
Yeah, but
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously just because it's James Gunn.
Just because it's James Gunn.
I loved the Suicide Squad as opposed to just Suicide Squad.
Brilliant.
And
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker was great.
The Guardian movies.
He knows how to like weave these kinds of stories together. But even like honestly, with this Superman stuff, there is so much negativity going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like,
you look at Twitter.
Twitter's
always been a cesspit, but they are like outraged. That last one that just came out recently,
the trailer that just came out.
Yeah,
what's wrong with it?
They're losing their mind over it.
What happened?
He's not Henry Cavill. He's not Henry Cavill. It's not dark. It's not gritty. It's not violent. It's like. It's freaking. That's why do you think none of those movies did well? Because they're not Superman. Superman is not this grim, brooding guy. That's Batman.
Right.
Stop trying to make Superman into Batman. Superman is Superman. You show the two pictures of any pictures from the that we've seen so far of gun stuff, and any of the Snyderverse Superman. You look at the two pictures, and one of them is bright.
Yeah.
Crisp, clear, comic book, colorful, and then you look at the other stuff and it's dim, dull, gray,
muted.
People are look furious. There's like somebody like puts together some sort of cut where they're like, see how much better this is, and it's like a image of some woman on the roof of a flooded house, like reaching up to the sky, and like Superman is floating above her, looking like he's about to blow her into a million pieces with his laser vision. They're like, yeah, that's him. You've never read a goddamn Superman comic in your life, apparently.
I think that's yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that he does well. I'm sure it'll be a good film.
I think so.
I don't know if he'll be able to. I don't think like one of the things about James Gunn though is there's always sort of like that hard edge humor and violence to his stuff that sort of like adds to it. It's not only you not only have a good story, but you also have that sort of biting sense of humor.
Yes.
And that violence. And I want to see how he's going to translate that into the Superman property, because you can't have people getting their heads blown off into a little thousands of tiny pieces or random crazy sex scene or just anything that you saw in the Suicide Squad. You're not going to be seeing that in
Superman. No.
In Superman.
No,
it doesn't belong there. And I think he understands that it doesn't belong there because he's very thoughtful about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see how that translates.
I mean,
but regardless, what I was getting at was that Warner Brothers, they are trying to build their shared universe of movies. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. And now on top of all that, you're dealing with like the fatigue from Marvel's success, where even Marvel is, let's face it, they are also struggling now because.
Do you think Fantastic Four will turn it around for them?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm curious. I was surprised by the whole Robert Downey Jr. announcement that he was Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is like my favorite villain. And
I don't see Downey as him, but whatever.
I don't see Downey as him either, but he could surprise me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A great actor.
I mean, I never would have thought James Spader would be a good Ultron, but he was great as Ultron.
He was great as Ultron.
We shall see, but Sony, they came to the race last, and
it shows.
As soon as like somebody said ready, set, go, they fell flat on their face, and they don't know, or they don't have any clue what the hell they're doing wrong.
Right.
Even though people are like screaming it at them nonstop. And their idea, whoever came up with this idea of, we're gonna make movies where all of Spider-Man's villains are the protagonists and heroes.
Sort of like Thunderbolts.
Not even, because the Thunderbolts, we've seen them. They were already
in other
stuff where they were either bad guys or anti-heroes of some kind, and now they're doing their thing. Same thing with but basically Thunderbolts is the Suicide Squad, but for Marvel.
Right.
So you have the bad guys who are now being used as good guys. But in the Thunderbolts, you've seen those people before. With this, it's like, no, they're heroes from the get-go. And it's sort of like, well, then how do they become part of Spider-Man's world? And also in the case of freaking Madam Web, you basically shit all over Spider-Man because it was just like, oh, well, he's not even the original. He is just some derivative copy of some bad guy who was there before him, and a bunch of girls who are now dressed up in sort of skimpy, sexy Spider-Man outfits.
What is this,
with
Halloween?
Various Spider-Man powers. Oh God, that like that scene at the end of that movie was so awful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they should have just, hey, give us $1 and we'll let you see that terrible scene at the end of the movie. Yeah. All right. So I've ranted and raved enough.
I think, to your point, since Kraven isn't really a hero and is more a villain, they should have gone down that road with him. They should have shown him being who he is. Don't even explain to me the why. Does the why matter at this point?
But I mean, if that's the case, don't even make a goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Just don't make a goddamn movie. And if you wanted to make a Spider-Man adjacent universe, take one of the hero characters. And don't screw it up like you did with Madam Web. Madam Web is, I guess, one of the hero characters of the Spider-Man universe. But you could have taken, I'm sure there's other characters out there that Spider-Man has worked with that are heroes, that are not villains, that are deadly enemies of Spider-Man. Seriously, whoever greenlit this entire thing was a goddamn moron.
Yeah. And I feel bad because I really, really like Aaron Taylor Johnson. So we're going to pair this with Kick-Ass, which is also sort of a superhero story. But that is leaps and bounds better than this.
It's phenomenally better.
And
It's
also very over the top as far as violence and stuff. This, I feel like, in order to make this better, yes, a better script, but also, even if you didn't have the better script, you could have gone like deep into the violence and just done that. Just show him being just this merciless killing machine and just coming for vengeance to anybody that's ever wronged him. Like, if you showed me a film of that, I think I would have been all right. I'd have been like, okay, this works. We didn't really need to go into his origin story. We didn't need to go into his backstory. If you weren't going to do anything with the brother in this particular story, why even introduce him? Like, his brother seemed like such a non-character until the end.
Yeah.
So again, the bookends of this film were way better than the actual story of this film, which is unfortunate. And again, I really like Aaron Taylor Johnson as an actor, but I feel like he hasn't found that niche yet. He's almost like, I think you said it yourself, he's like the best looking character actor.
Yeah, he's a character actor with leading man good looks.
Yeah. Which is crazy because when you're that good looking, you would assume that you would be a leading man.
I think you're given a couple of chances, it seems, in Hollywood, and then after a certain amount of time, it's like, you know what, you clearly just don't got it.
Right.
Like look at what's his name, Taylor Kitsch.
Yes. Aww.
They were like, all right, we're giving you're front and center at the top bill, John Carter of Mars.
That was such a good film. I mean, that wasn't his fault, though. That really was marketing. I don't know what happened with that film because we've seen it and we love it.
Yeah, I like that movie.
I'd be curious. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned it. I'd be curious to watch it again and see if it still holds up. I think it does, but I don't know. I could be wrong. But
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Another thing is, like, when you're dealing with a property like this, you also have to think about the fans of the source material. I'm not really invested in the source material, so I don't have that like weight around me. But back to what we were saying, you got that look, you have a certain amount of opportunities, and like Ryan Reynolds, he was on his way out. And then boom,
Deadpool.
He got Deadpool, and he's back on top again. You got to prove that you can make money when your name is on above the title of the movie.
It's weird. I mean, we just saw him in Nosferatu, and he's not the main character, but his storyline is pivotal to the entire story of the film, and he's heartbreaking in that. He's not in it very much, but you come to empathize with that character and feel so bad for the trajectory of his story.
Yeah. I would probably say I enjoyed him more in Bullet Train, his character in Bullet Train.
I liked him in that too.
But
even though
again,
I didn't like the film.
I didn't really care for Bullet Train, but as far as things in that movie that were good, him and Brian Tyree Henry were the
exceptional.
They were the standout stars of that movie.
Film.
I would have been happy if they were the main protagonists.
Yeah, same.
But once again, that's a supporting role. He's subordinate to Brad Pitt, who's the lead there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if they had taken this film and just made it...
They shouldn't have made it.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe they shouldn't have made it. But if they were going to make it basically parody The Raid, just make it just nonstop action violence and just leave it at that.
Well, then just call it American Raid or something.
Do it shot for shot. No, I'm just kidding.
Because then there's no point in calling it Kraven. It's like Kraven's whole thing.
But if you're gonna introduce this character, and this is why I said to you, I was like, I wonder why this character was introduced, because to your point, he's not like a top tier character in the Spider-Verse, and yet he got his own film.
Yeah, and his most famous story is completely unfilmable unless you have Spider-Man in it. So it's sort of like, I don't know why. You may as well have just made a unique standalone property about a guy who somehow gets superhuman strength and enhanced senses.
Well, then somebody would have gotten sued, obviously.
No,
because they would have been like,
not at all.
Like
there's not a million films where some guy gets enhanced senses and superhuman strength somehow.
It's fair, but still, I mean, I think it would have been too close to the source material.
No, it wouldn't. What you see in this is absolutely generic as far as
the Kraven comics go.
the only thing that makes this film a Kraven movie or about that character is his name is Kraven.
Mm-hmm. And the other characters are in the story too, right?
Just get rid of them. They didn't serve any real purpose anyway. You didn't need the Rhino.
No. Yeah.
You could have just had, I'm a guy who gets really big. He's Bane now. I inject myself with this stuff, and now I'm roided up and ready to kill somebody. Oh, I could shapeshift. Okay, we haven't seen that, but wow. None of that had to have any connection to Spider-Man or the Spider-Man universe.
All right, fair enough.
If you were going to make a Kraven movie, like you said, make him a villain. Like, make him a villain who has to do something heroic at the end, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe he does all these things, and sort of to the point of that the lawyer lady, like, these people on the list, they're going to come for you, and then they grab the brother. And then I
wouldn't even have had the damn brother.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had anything.
They needed to introduce him because obviously if there was going to be a sequel to this, which I think they were banking on.
They were hoping that all of these would be huge block. When they announced this, they had such high hopes because there was supposed to be more. There was supposed to be something called Silver Sable.
That's done now.
I don't think they're going to make that one at all. Yeah. I think there were a couple of films.
But I think that they had high hopes for this because I feel like even the way this film ended kind of felt like, they're hoping that this does well so they can do more.
Yeah, I think when it all came down to it, I think they knew they didn't really have anything because they didn't even put a little end bumper there on this one.
Oh, that's true too. And I think we read that this originally was supposed to be released in 2023, but I wonder why they held on to it.
I think they probably needed reshoots. They probably were like, we've got to make this more violent because it's just so boring.
It wasn't violent enough for me. I mean, maybe it's just me. But.
Given that most films, most superhero, nobody's getting their nose actually bitten off or anything like that. Yeah. I think that they amped it up so they got that rated R rating, and they were hoping that, it's going to be just like Deadpool. The success of, remember, they were like, Deadpool's rated R. It's going to hurt it. And then it was just like,
it took off
through the roof.
Yeah.
They were like, that's the secret. We have to make superhero films rated R.
But that's not Sony. That's Fox, right?
Fox was Deadpool, yeah.
Well, which is now owned by Disney.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I'm getting at is they always take the wrong lesson.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Like, people who thought, the reason for Deadpool's success was that it was rated R.
That's not it.
It was that it was a fun story, and the guy who playing the part fit it to a T
and committed,
and they told it in a way that honored the actual character. It didn't matter if it was rated R. They could have gotten away with a PG-13 rating if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to. They went with the R because it was just more fitting of the character.
Right.
There's nothing inherently rated R about Kraven. I mean, you saw the costume at the end.
Oh, God. That sequence was so stupid.
He's like, this is a final gift for you, my son. Why would he give him that stupid thing?
I don't know.
And then he puts it on and he's just like, I'm going to stare at myself in the mirror now. That was so...
He should have rubbed keels on those babies. That's what he should have done. He should have
just been rubbing his abs. Just like, look at that. I'm Kraven, baby.
Oh, God. This movie, I think
great if he just like looked in the mirror and was just like, I got what you're craving.
Let's wrap this up. This movie gave me a headache. 1 to 10.
I give it a 4.
A 4. I was gonna get a 5, but maybe I should give it a 4 because
it's genuinely bad. Like I was thinking,
you're right. It's a 4.
I was thinking, okay, this because you could say average if there was no connection to Spider-Man there at all. You could say, okay, take it or leave it. But if your purpose is to build this sort of universe or add to this universe,
it has to at least be good.
You really failed.
Yeah.
Because
you had
a character that there's certain expectations of, and you just failed to meet them on every level.
I think I was thinking in terms of like in the repertoire. Again, I am absolutely astonished at the bloodbath that Sony took this year. This past year, because they released all 3 films in 2024. So
I feel like Madam Web came out like years ago. Are you sure it was 2024?
I'm pretty sure it came out last year because that's when we reviewed it. We reviewed it last
maybe
year.
It was just so bad I pushed it out of my mind.
What year did the film Madam Web come out?
Yeah, look at that.
And then the Venom movie came out like in September, I think, October, or
I think it was one of the summer movies.
it was one of the so maybe August, and then this came out in December.
Yeah.
So Sony took a hit, crazy hit.
Well,
Could you imagine being
hopefully
that terrible?
Hopefully,
at your job?
everybody involved with them is just sort of like, okay, you're done. This was a stupid idea. It never should have happened. And
Who knows?
They were just like, you know what? Maybe we should just sell all the characters back to Marvel.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad thing. At least, even with the superhero fatigue and that they're not at their highest, right? I think Marvel movies will at least still reign in that arena. And I think that the people that still make those movies actually give a damn about the stories. So,
I mean, sometimes lately though, I feel like lately they've kind of lost their way a bit.
all right, fair. I mean, we didn't see this last Captain America
Now we're waiting for that to come out
on cable.
streaming.
But I didn't mind the last Ant-Man. I thought that was fine. I didn't think it was the greatest film I ever saw, but I didn't think it was terrible.
No, I didn't think it was bad either.
I hated the Marvels. Oh,
the Marvels was so terrible.
awful. That was awful. That might have been like the first really one that I was just...
Eternals.
Eternals was shite too, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And Thor,
Thor was
2 and
Love
3.
and Thunder was garbage.
Two. No, I actually like that one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the first and second. Well, no, the first one was okay. That was the Kenneth Branagh one. The second one with Christopher Eccleston, who I'm
Completely
like, why was he
forgettable.
even? Yeah, I don't even know why he was even in it.
Yeah, they could have put anybody in that role.
Seriously, it could have just been CG at that point, right?
Yeah.
He never takes his mask off or whatever.
No,
So,
you see his face. It's
Do
just
you?
he's covered in makeup, and he says like 7 or 8 things
I
in
was
the
going to
entire
say,
movie.
yeah, he's got like 2 minutes of dialogue. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. But still, I'm just saying that even the lackluster stuff on the Marvel side probably is better thought out and executed than what happened here.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, so you say 4. I don't know. Should I give it a 5? I don't know.
I thought
It's
you
better
said you were giving it a 4. You said
I
you were
thought
giving it a
so,
4.
but then I was like, is this on par with like Madam Web? I think I gave Madam Web a 4.
You were generous with Madam Web for some bizarre reason.
I think you guys all gave it like a 2 or a 3, and I
Yeah.
think I might have given it a 4. So I have to give this a 5 because
No, you don't have to make anything in comparison to anything else. Was this an average movie or a not good movie?
it wasn't good.
Then it's a 4.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, but if you want to see it, it's on Netflix.
You want to see it? It's on Netflix. Apparently, it's doing well. I guess
Yeah.
a lot of people want to see how bad it is.
Yeah.
It's
So-
not as bad. It's not as bad as you may have been led to believe, but it's not good.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not good, especially if you're a fan of Spider-Man and any of the history that's associated with that character.
It's definitely better than Madam Web.
Yeah, that's just.
But that's
that
not
was
a big
just
bar
that
to
was just
clear.
a big pile of garbage.
So
I feel bad for
we
Adam
didn't see
Scott.
the last Venom movie. Did we even try to? Because I remember the first one made me crazy, and the second one made me even crazier.
The second one was so much worse than the first one.
Oh, it was terrible. So I mean, do we even watch the last one?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll see it on cable.
It's at some point.
If
right?
it's on cable and
I'll
I
watch
flip
it.
through it and I'm like it hasn't gone beyond 5 minutes, maybe I'll watch it.
All right. Well, let me know if I'm around because maybe I'll join you because I'm curious, but at the same time, also, I want to spare myself the aggravation because I legit was angry after the second film.
Yeah.
I think that movie, the Persuasion movie, the last Bond film, like they literally all made me angry.
Okay.
This movie This movie didn't make me angry, but I was very disappointed.
Well, it had a good opening.
It did. And then it just
Watch the first 15 minutes, and once he's out of the Russian prison, turn the movie off.
Yeah, turn it off. It was very much like Wonder Woman 84, right? But the beginning sequence was good, and then the movie just went to hell.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Although this one doesn't have any sort of weird rape thing going on like Wonder Woman 84 did.
Yeah, that was icky.
Yeah. The entire writer's room full of people, nobody caught on that.
Yeah.
Nobody was just like, isn't she technically raping the guy that Steve's possessing?
Well, I think, I don't know, maybe in the aftermath of Me Too, it was like, well, okay, it's the other way around, so it's not as bad.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe that was the rationale. I mean, it's still icky.
Yeah,
I get no argument from me, but all right.
let's wrap it
Kraven
up.
on Netflix if you're interested, but we say skip.
Skip it.
And or if you really want to see something entertaining, go see Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is a way better film than this. Yeah, I feel bad for him. Like, I want him to be successful, and yet it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like ending this review.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Come on, let's go. Say the words. Like and subscribe.
Or
follow, or whatever you do, whatever you people do. Or comment.
Yes.
Put a comment. Well, we've actually thought about listening to the 3 comments that we've gotten so far.
Yes. Please tell us your thoughts on Kraven or anything else. And if you have any thoughts about movies you'd like us to watch and review, let us know in the comments as well. And with that, we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.